We know how to determine whether or not a relation is a function by looking at just the list of ordered pairs. How could we do it by looking at a graph? Well, on a graph, the points with the same x-coordinate lie on the same vertical line. And that gives us a way to determine by looking at the graph whether or not a relation represents a function. That method is called the vertical line test. And to use it, we consider every vertical line that passes through the graph. If we can find a single vertical line that crosses the graph more than once, that graph does not represent a function. If there's no vertical line like that, then the graph does represent a function. So to decide whether or not we have a function, we try to find a vertical line that crosses the graph more than once. If we can, we reject it as a function. If we cannot find such a line, then we keep it as a function. Let's see how we actually do that. Here we have the graphs of several relations. And to decide whether or not we have a function, we'll look at the graph and we'll imagine drawing vertical lines and see if they cross it more than once. In this first example, we see that we're not going to come up with any vertical lines that cross this more than once. So this first example is a function. But in the second graph, we see that if we draw this vertical line here, this crosses the graph at this point and at this point. So because we have a line, any vertical line we can find that crosses the graph twice shows us that this is not a function. Let's look at a couple more examples. So looking at this graph on the left here, we see we've got a vertical line that crosses this a lot of times. Right? So this crosses 4 times. That's more than twice. And so that tells us that, again, this is not a function. Okay, last one to look at is this weird zigzaggy guy. And it looks a little bit odd, but looking at it, we see that anytime we draw a vertical line, that vertical line only crosses our graph once. And my vertical lines are not perfect here. But we can see that any vertical line will only cross this once, and so this is, again, a function. So if we can draw at least one vertical line that crosses it twice or more, we reject it. It's no longer allowed to be a function. If there's no line like that, if we cannot draw a vertical line that crosses the graph more than once, then that is a function.